Okay, so before we proceed on solving rational inequalities, we must first know the inequality symbols. So these are the less than, greater than, less than or equal, and greater than or equal. And we must know also the interval notation. Ang interval notation is in the form of open parenthesis A and B and close parenthesis, meaning it is an open interval, meaning yung A and B ay hindi kasama sa solusyon ng ating inequalities. And A and B are both real numbers. At ang interval notation ay also in the form of open bracket A, B, and close bracket, kung saan ito naman yung ating close interval, meaning yung values ng A and B ay kasama at solusyon sa ating inequalities. At maaari din naman ganito ang ating interval notation kung saan yung A ay kasama sa solution pero yung B ay hindi kasama sa ating solution para sa inequalities. At pwede rin naman ganito kung saan yung A ay hindi kasama sa solution pero yung B ay kasama sa solution para sa ating inequalities. Okay, so let's have an example kung saan yung mayroon tayong graph dito na nakatapat sa positive 1 and it is shaded. Then, may arrow to the positive infinity. Yan. Ang ibig sabihin ng arrow na yan ay walang katapusan. So, extending. So, kaya positive infinity. Kaya ang magiging interval notation natin dito ay mula sa positive 1. So, ibig sabihin, including the positive 1 hanggang sa positive infinity. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, dahil nga arrow to na extending or walang katapusan, we can denote and write it as positive infinity, then open interval. Okay. Another example, this one. So, kung mapapansin nyo, walang shade yung ating dot or point. So, meaning, kapag walang shade, ibig sabihin ito ay open interval. Yan. So, ang nakatapat sa kanya ay yung negative 2. Then, hanggang positive 3. Then, wala ding shade. So, ibig sabihin yung mga numbers na dyan ang pwede dun sa ating rational or any inequality para magkaroon tayo ng solutions doon. Okay. So, yan. So, once na sinulat natin siya into interval notation, ay ganito. So, open, interval, negative 2, and 3. Okay? 3 open. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, hindi kasali yung negative 2 at 3 dun sa solution ng ating inequalities. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, sa numbers negative 1, 0, 1, 2, ay pwede nating solution dun sa ating inequalities. Okay, so number 3 example. Meron tayo ditong putol na na line, no? Kung saan walang shade yung ating point. So, meaning, hindi siya kasali. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, open interval siya. Kaya, we can denote this one as negative 1. Yan. So, to negative infinity. Yan. So, ibig sabihin, ang indication ng arrow na to ay extending to negative infinity. Okay, then, when you were in grade 7, itong symbol na to ay yun. Ibig sabihin, magkasama silang dalawa. Okay, so dito naman, nakatapat din yung ating point dun sa positive 1. Kung saan, walang shaded ito, kaya open interval pa rin siya na positive 1 to positive infinity. Okay, so ibig sabihin, parehas na open interval yung ating graph. Okay? Kung saan -8 and -1 is union with open interval 1 and positive infinity. Okay? So, next example. Yan. So, our line is, yan. Dito naman, naka-shaded yung ating -1. So, ibig sabihin, close interval siya, including -1. To +2. But, yung point dito ay walang shade, kaya ito ay naka-open interval. So, when we write this in interval notation, close interval -1 and 2 open interval. Okay. And next example, parehas silang may shaded. Therefore, it is a closed interval from -2 to +1. So, ibig sabihin, kasali yung -2 at +1 sa ating solutions into inequalities. Okay? And next, yan. Dito naman ay may shade yung ating point na nakatapat sa -1, kaya ito ay close interval, which means that -1 is included in our solution to -infinity, which is open interval. And meron pa tayo dito. So, ito ay walang shade, meaning it is an open interval to positive infinity. Kaya isusulat natin siya into this, like this. Yan. And it is a union between negative infinity and -1 and 2 and positive infinity. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, so we'll have this one to this one. Okay, so paano natin to isusulat into interval notation? So, since ito ay shaded, ito ay close interval. So, kasali yung -2 to open interval na +2. Kaya ganito yung ating pagsusulat sa kanya. Okay? Okay, so there are rules we can need to follow in solving rational inequalities. So, step 1, write the inequality with a single rational expression on the left-hand side of the inequality and 0 on the right-hand side of the inequality. Step 2, determine the meaningful numbers by setting the numerator equal to 0 and setting the denominator equal to 0. And step number 3, use the meaningful numbers to separate the number line into intervals. Step number 4, test for the meaningful numbers if they make the inequality true or false. Then, if true, then they are part of the solution. If false, then they are not part of the solutions. A. Get the values in each interval and substitute this into the inequality. B. If the test value makes the inequality true, then the entire interval is a solution of the or to the inequality. And C. If the values of makes the inequality false, then the entire interval is not a solution to the inequality. And step number 5, express the answer in interval notation. Okay, so we are asked to solve for the rational inequalities of x plus 2 over x minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So, the first step is already done because we already have the 0 in our right hand side of our inequality. Okay, so now we will get the meaningful numbers by setting both the numerator and denominator equal to 0. Okay, so ang numerator natin ay x plus 2, equate natin into 0. Then we can get the first meaningful number, which is x equals to negative 2. So bakit? Kasi yung positive 2 ay tinranspose natin to the right hand side. And the other meaningful number naman ay x minus 3 equals to 0, yung negative 3, itatranspose natin to the right hand side, magiging x equals to 3. Ayan, so we need to test if the meaningful numbers is a solution of our inequality. So, let's try at x equals to negative 2. Okay, so palitan natin or let's substitute the value of x here in our inequality. So, negative 2 plus 2 over negative 2 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. Okay? So, negative 2 plus 2 ay equals to 0 over negative 2 minus 3 ay equals to negative 5. Okay, 0 divided by negative 5 ay 0. So, ayan. So, which means that 0 is less than or equal to 0. So, meaning, negative 2 is a solution of our inequality. Kasi na-satisfy niya itong ating condition na to. So, 0 is equal to 0. So, it is true. Okay? Next. Punta naman tayo sa denominator. Okay? So, let's test if the denominator or the value of x here is a solution in our inequality. Okay? So, 3 plus 2 over 3 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So, 3 plus 2 ay equal to 5 over 3 minus 3 ay equals to 0. Is less than or equal to 0. Since we have a denominator which is equal to 0, it is undefined. Diba, lagi natin tatandaan na hindi pwedeng magkaroon ng denominator na equal to 0. So, thus, the value of 3 or the value of x, which is 3, is not a solution of our inequality. Okay. So, we can now proceed in our step 3 kung saan isi-separate natin yung mga numbers na nakuha natin. Yan, yung x equals to negative 2 at x equals to positive 3. Isi-separate natin in the number line para makuha natin yung interval notation ng ating magiging sagot. Okay. So, since we have, yan. Okay. So, let's separate. Diba, we have x equals to negative 2. Okay. Yan. And x equals to positive 3. Yan. Okay. So, ngayon, kukuha tayo ng mga values na nasa kaliwa ng negative 2, nasa loob ng negative 2 at 3, at nasa kanan naman ng positive 3. Okay? So, we can now name it as A, B, and C. Yung mga values dyan. Okay. So, we will going to pick a value in this region or in this part sa A. Okay. So, we can now test we can now pick negative 3. Okay? So, at x equals to negative 3, substitute natin dun sa ating pinaka inequality. Okay? So, at x negative 3, so negative 3 plus 2 over negative 3 minus 3 is less than or equal to 0. Okay? So, tingnan natin kung magtuturo siya or solution siya dun sa ating inequality. So, negative 3 plus 2 ay equals to negative 1 over negative 3 minus 3 ay equals to negative 6 is less than or equal to 0. Okay. So, negative 1 divided by negative 6 ay equal to positive 1 over 6. Okay, so dito na lang natin isulat. Yan. So, positive 1 over 6. So, tama ba na yung 1 over 6 is less than or equal to 0? So, no. Diba? So, it is false. Okay? Pwede na natin lagyan dito na yung lahat ng mga numbers sa kanan ng negative 2 ay false or hindi kasama sa solusyon ng ating inequality. Okay, next. Para naman sa mga values ng b, let us pick a number. Ayan. A number sa pagitan ng negative 2 and 3. So, yun ay pwede nating maging ay x equals to positive 1. Okay? So, x equals to 1. Okay? So, substitute 1 plus 2 over 1 minus 3 is less than or equals to 0. Okay? So, 1 plus 2 ay equals to 3. Then, 1 minus 3 ay equals to negative 2. Okay? So, less than or equal to 0. So, ngayon, 3 divided by negative 2 ay negative 3 over 2. Yan. So, meaning, nasa-satisfy niya yung condition kasi ito ay negative, which is less than to 0. So, that's why it is true. Okay? So, therefore, negative 3 over 2 can be a solution to our inequality. Okay? So, lagyan na natin dito ng true. Okay? Next. Kuha naman tayo ng mga numbers sa kanan ng positive 3. Okay? So, yun ay pwede natin kuhanin yung mas malapit sa kanya, which is x equals to 4. Then, substitute natin. Okay. So, 4 plus 2 over 4 minus 3 less than or equal to 0. So, 4 plus 2 ay equals to 6 over 4 minus 3 ay equals to 1 less than or equal to 0. 6 divided by 1 ay equal to 6 less than or equal to 0. So, ngayon, tama ba that this is 6 is less than or equal to 0? So, it is false. Meaning, lahat ng numbers sa kanan ng 3 ay kapag pinag-substitute natin dun sa ating inequality symbol, lahat ay magiging false na. Okay? So, now, we can get our answer using our interval notation. So, saan lang ba siya true? So, dito sa portion na ito. So, ibig sabihin, kasama yung negative 2 kasi dito, nung pagtetest natin dun sa meaningful number niya, kasama yung nag-true siya dun sa negative 2. So, ibig sabihin, maaari tayong magkaroon ng interval notation or answer na so, interval notation. Okay? So, interval notation na close interval of negative 2 and so ibig sabihin sa pagitan nito, then pag substitute tayo ng positive 3, ibig sabihin false na siya, meaning hindi nakasama yung positive 3. So ibig sabihin open interval na yon. So open interval 3. Ayan. So meaning hindi nga kasama yung 3, and our answer is this one. So close interval, -2 and 3 open interval. Okay? So that's all.